The EU president says Brexit can be reversed by the next generation. We're going to read into this more from The Independent, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here with an article from The Independent with the headline that the EU president says Brexit can be reversed by the next generation. We goofed up. We goofed it up and you have to fix it, Ursula von der Leyen tells young people. The next generation is very aware of the privileges and the fortunes that the older generation had with connections to the European Union. They see that they don't have the privileges that they had before. They know it's harder for them to travel to the EU. They know it's harder for businesses to make arrangements with the EU. They know that things are a bit worse off now. But it's important to make this distinction, is that there's a lot of people out there who make this assumption that, especially people who live in Europe or live around the world, and just assume that people who voted for Brexit knew exactly what they were voting for. And it's really important for me to make this distinction before you start making your stupid comments on the video. Yeah. When people voted for Brexit, they did not vote to leave the single customs union. That was not the Leave campaign's position. They did not state that in any point in the videos. Any clips, go and have a look. Go and Google it. There's plenty of evidence to support that. They all said that we will not be leaving the EU single market. That's a very important distinction to make here. Yeah, that's the first point. Second point is that the Leave campaign had more funding than it should have done. That's another point to make, yeah, when it comes to that, when the build up to that vote. Another point that we need to make as well. I have to keep making these points because people around the world still don't get this, okay? The Leave campaign had more money, as I just said, but they had a vast majority of the media of coverage. They had far more coverage than the Remain campaign. They were everywhere in the British media, in the newspapers, on the line, in the media. They were everywhere. They were absolutely everywhere. Nowhere near as much as anyone else. The Remain campaign had coverage, but nowhere near the level that Leave did. So they had the media on their side as well. So it wasn't a fair campaign to begin with. And this is really important to make those distinctions, yeah, when it comes to this, which is why I believe that we were perfectly entitled to a second referendum vote, just like the Scottish people are entitled to a second independence vote. And the reason why they're entitled to a second referendum on their independence vote was because in the run-up to the 2014 vote, they were told that they would not be leaving the European Union. And what happened 2 years later? Scotland gets pulled out of the European Union against their will because the Scottish people voted in favour of staying within the EU, and now they're no longer in it. That was not something that they voted for. It's very important to make these caveats here, guys. But now back to this on the EU president saying by the next generation. It will be down to young people, but it also means that we need to reform and change the way we elect our politicians. We need to change the way things are done, because our system is not a fair system. It's not a democratically fair system. We need proportional representation. We need reform within our Parliament and within the House of Lords, so that it is more fair and just for the people. Because right now it's not fair and just. We have as of right now, we have a Prime Minister that we did not vote for. We have a government that we did not vote for. They are putting in laws that we did not vote for. They are doing U-turns on the manifesto that was made back in 2019. They're changing some of their manifesto commitments back in 2019. So there are all these things that are being done that are completely undemocratic. So we are not having a say whatsoever, the British people, in any of this right now. So we need to change a lot of things. And of course we need to go back into the EU. But in order for us to do that, we have to change our own laws and our own ways before we can even think about rejoining. Because if we don't change our own and clean up our own house, how are we ever supposed to join a house like theirs? So the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has said young Britons could still reverse Brexit by deciding to rejoin the EU in the years ahead. The top EU figure said it was up to the next generation to fix the mistakes made by British politicians on Brexit in surprise remarks. Why did she make these comments now? That's what I'm curious. Why now? Why say this now? What's the benefit of her saying this now? Or is it just a case that she's just freely speaking her mind with no consequences whatsoever? I'm curious what her thoughts in saying this are. Ms Von der Leyen has also suggested that the UK was on a clear direction of travel towards rejoining the bloc in the future, amid growing frustration amongst voters with Brexit's impact. Asked if Britain could ever rejoin, she told Politico, "I must say, I keep telling my children, you have to fix it. We goofed it up, you have to fix it." Mrs Von der Leyen added, "So I think here too, the direction of travel, my personal opinion, is clear." The Brussels chiefs also described the Windsor Agreement she struck with Rishi Sunk on Northern Ireland as a new beginning for old friends. Number 10 immediately rejected the idea of reversing or fixing Brexit in response to Mrs Von der Leyen's proactive remarks. Well, nobody cares what you guys think because you're not going to be in power for long. Sunak's official spokesperson said Brexit was freedoms were allowing the UK to diverge from Brussels on immigration, animal welfare and medicine procurement. Yeah, and how's that going for us, guys? Comments down below. How are things going since he said that? "We're focusing on delivering Brexit," he told reporters. "We are focusing on the benefits and opportunities Brexit can bring." Can you name some benefits of Brexit for the UK? Comments down below. I'll give you one. You want to know a benefit? Australian wine is now 6p cheaper. I'm not kidding. That's the Brexit benefit. How do you feel about Australian wine being 6p cheaper? Let me know down in the comments below, my fellow Brits. Although polls have shown support for rejoining the EU gradually growing over the last year, neither Labour nor the Liberal Democrats is promising to reverse Brexit. So Keir Starmer's party has promised a closer relationship with the bloc, but has ruled out rejoining the single market or customs union in any deal to bring back the freedom movement of people. This, I believe, will change over time. But if it's not him, it's going to be a future government. We'll have to change that position over time. But I do welcome that he is going to at least move closer ties with the EU. It's a step in the right direction. I know there's a lot of people who are going to be saying in my comments that we can't trust Labour. And I get that. I totally understand that position. Trust me, I don't trust Labour either. But I'd rather take that rotten apple than the one we have in government right now, in all seriousness, yeah? And it's down to us to hold them accountable, just like we hold the Conservatives accountable when they come into power. But I do hope that that Labour members pile the pressure on the Labour government if it comes into power at the next general election, which I expect it to. And that Parliament keeps the pressure on it, and that the public keep pressure on Labour government in order to push for closer relationships, and hopefully at some point rejoining the single market, which will be a massive boost to the British economy as it once was. It comes as the former Home Secretary Priti Patel says Mr Sunak needs to act on the tentacles of EU controls which remain in place over Northern Ireland. As the Sunak government remains in the long-running talks with the DUP over the union's concerns on post-Brexit trading arrangements, Dame Patel said she voted against the Windsor framework because it posed a risk to the integrity of the UK. Yeah, what's going on in Northern Ireland is still... The DUP are damaging Northern Ireland every single day by not forming the government. It's just not right that Westminster is running things for Northern Ireland. It's not. Mrs Von der Leyen's surprise comes as Mr Sunak's new Foreign Secretary David Cameron is in Brussels to discuss Ukraine and other defensive issues. The Lord Cameron is expected to meet with the European Commission President Marcos Stefkovic. The Foreign Secretary is reportedly keen to discuss the issue of post-Brexit tariffs set to be imposed on the automobile industry coming into force in January. Mr Sunak's government is pushing for the Commission to agree to delay the costly new rules origin set to damage the electric vehicle market, due to come at the start of 2024 as part of Boris Johnson's trade deal. The new Foreign Secretary and the former PM is also close to agreeing a post-Brexit deal with Spain to resolve a long-running row over arrangements for Gibraltar. Spanish Foreign Minister Jose Manuel Alvarez revealed on Tuesday that he had been in crunch talks with Lord Cameron on a deal to avoid a hard border between Gibraltar and Spain. Yeah, there needs to be something there. I don't know the full details, obviously, there, but there should be no reason for a hard border between Spain and Gibraltar. So whatever they need to hash out, they need to hash it out in such a way that it doesn't affect the people of Gibraltar, for sure. A spokesperson for the Foreign Office said Lord Cameron had underlined the UK's desire to get an UK-EU treaty on Gibraltar as soon as possible during his discussions with Mr. Alvarez. The Spanish minister suggested the outline of the deal is now in place for a zone of shared prosperity in the Spanish area next to the British territories to ease the flow of people and goods. I think people who travel from the UK to Gibraltar, I think the easiest thing is to treat it as if they're going into the treat it as if they're going into the European Union. I think that's one caveat, but I don't know the full details of the deal that they're going to be sorting out, but they need to sort that out as quickly as possible, because it's not right that, especially those who live in Gibraltar are being treated as second-class citizens, and that needs to be resolved as quickly as possible. The sooner it gets resolved, the better. Now on to Ursula von der Leyen saying that we goofed up. It's important, as I said at the start of the video, it's important to remember that the British public were lied to. They were not given the full picture, and still to this day the British media are manipulating and misleading the British public when it comes to the full facts and details of what happened to Brexit. And more and more as every day comes past, we have more and more people who are upset with what happened with Brexit, not just because we left, but also on the fact that those who did vote to leave are upset because they didn't get the deal that they voted for, and it's leading to more negativity, more anger, more frustration, and they're turning that frustration and anger towards immigrants who have absolutely nothing to do with Brexit. And instead of pointing the finger at the same political party who have been in charge throughout this whole period, who have negotiated the deal, who have been in control the whole time, they're continuously looking to point the finger elsewhere. The media make the public say it's not because of the Conservative government, it's because of the war in Ukraine, it's because of bureaucracy in Brussels, or it's someone else's fault, it's Putin, it's what's going on in Gaza and Israel. It's constantly finger pointing anywhere else except the very government that has caused the damage in the very first place. It's important that we keep talking about Brexit. I know people don't like talking about it, but it's important to remind ourselves the impact and the damage to this very day that every second passes. Brexit has destroyed families. It has destroyed lives. It has literally been responsible for killing people in this country because of the actions that have been made. And I genuinely hope that that we come back soon. When that happens, I don't know. What do you guys make of the comments from Ursula von der Leyen? Sorry, mispronounced her name. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about all of this so far. Hit the like button, be greatly appreciated. Share across social media and hit that bell notification icon so you'll be notified of when I upload another video. And if you want to financially support me, you can do so by buying me a coffee or supporting me on Patreon. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.